Hi Sri Lanka, this is Jason Fabok, and this is gonna be epic. So as a fan of comic books, I feel that the thing that really appeals to me has always been the art. That's what draws me into comic books, is the art first, even over the story, and even over characters as well. Though I will say that, like seeing a Batman book, I'll be always attracted to that probably before other characters. But even from a young age, it was always the art. I just, that's what draws me in. It's the visual of it. It's the visual of big, bold artwork. It's always been guys like, Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri, David Finch, Gary Frank, Greg Capullo, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld back in the 90s. It's just like, I don't know, that kind of thing speaks to me. It's always spoken to me. And it's, it's a unique art form, and it's an art form that, in the past, I feel like only these kinds of stories could only be told through the comic book medium. Nowadays we're kind of getting to this point where movies and TV have caught up, and they're able to do, really cool, and, these movies and these films that are big and capturing that visual that a comic you could only really do in a comic book back in the 80s and 90s. But I still feel like comic books still have that magic to them, especially when you buy a comic from an artist or a writer that you really enjoy, and you sit down and you read it. There is a magical thing about flipping those pages and soaking in that story and soaking in that comic. And so that, for me, that's something that's really important, and it's something that still attracts me to the comic book medium. Even to this day, you work on a book, and then you finally get to hold that book in your hand. And to me, that's very attractive, and it feels good to do that. It feels good to get that book in hand, and it feels good to go to a comic book store and buy a physical comic book and sit down and read it. And I think that's something that still appeals to me today.